Yeah. Okay. So we are recording. Okay. We are about to start with interludes. I was asking Morgan if there's anything he wants to focus on for this interlude, and it sounds like you want to look at some of the the recovery from all the injuries that Ruda has suffered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were, Zai and I were talking about Ruda being in a coma.
Yeah, Ruda, I mean, it was not a long coma, but Ruda was in a coma for I don't know if it's not called a coma. Ruda was unconscious and unresponsive for several hours.
Yeah, so Ruda had low insulin. Really, really, really low insulin.
Ruda's diabetic.
I'm intrigued by the idea of focusing on all the injuries that Ruda has suffered. What do you think about doing an interlude that focuses on physical therapy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think this takes place in the garden. Remember we established that garden setting on the basically on the roof a while back, that there was that Florin woman there who was helping you to train to build up your relationship with what's her name? Your robot?
Yeah, Jagara.
Yeah, so you remember that setting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's, I think, where we're going to be at for physical therapy. Let me just drag these two other maps off to the side here. And send these to the GM layer. Okay. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. And now let me move all of these people out of the way. Okay. Move y'all down here. Move Ruda up here. Now, I think, so we're doing a physical therapy session. I think, you know what I love? I think that Charli is probably not the leader, but I think that Charli is kind of like the coach's assistant during the physical therapy, and I love that role reversal. And let's see. How do you feel about the Tickler is the person who is who has kind of taken over the role of leading physical therapy for all the people on the ship?
Yes, I think that only makes sense.
That's very good. Okay, so we've got the Tickler, we've got Charli, we've got Ruda.
He's kind of funny.
I want to throw in.
He's like Patch Adams, but with tickles.
Yeah.
You think the
tickle for a nickel?
Do you think that physical therapy in this context is going to involve are we just talking about physical therapy available to us today, or is it involve genetic therapy and cybernetics and
I think that
nanotechnology?
I think that most of it, as I'm envisioning it, is it's less about recuperating the body and more about recuperating the mind, and especially with mind-body synergy, because augmentation and sleeving and stuff is such a big thing in this setting. I think that there is a big, I think it's very common for somebody to like get an injury and then get like an augmentation replacement and then need to like train your nerves to work with the new machinery.
Right.
And I think with Ruda, it's especially weird because he's using Aelfinn augmentation, which is like totally unlike. It operates off of completely different principles than Galactic standard. So I want to add in one more character. I think Xochipilhi is back for this specifically. I mean, she's here anyway as like the gardener, but I think that she is helping Ruda with his particular prosthetics. So I've also dropped in Caeden, who is the leader and pilot of the Wombats, the other group that we look at, hang out with sometimes. And I think I'm also gonna drop in Anwar, because Anwar got sleeved a while back, and I imagine that there's a bit of a like, his body still doesn't act exactly the way he wants it to. Like, that process really, it's incredibly invasive brain surgery, and I imagine that for a while afterwards there's just some like weird stuff that happens with your body.
I think that Amil is going to show up, but like not, he doesn't need it because his body doesn't like work like that.
Yeah.
Or their body doesn't. But I just want to have fun. In the background with like a little like headbands around me, and it's like doing like he's having fun.
So Kevin, do you think that Nova, how much, so we know that they can like regrow lost body parts. Do you think that they are limited to a mostly humanoid form, or do you think that they can kind of like change their body into different shapes?
Ooh, good question.
Actually, it is that unlike creatures that have a variety of different cells, and through the evolutionary process, those types of cells, it's like, okay, well, you just grow more bone here and less bone there, something like that.
And a muscle cell can't be an eye cell.
Can't be an eye cell, but through evolutionary processes, you can change the morphology of the creature. Nova just have one cell. Every single cell in the Nova body is exactly the same, repeated over and over and over again. And you know how you take like the same thing and you just put them on. It's like with a crystal. When you put every single like crystal and structure is exactly the same when you zoom in, and then when you zoom out, it creates one form. And that's what Nova are. Same thing repeated over and over and over and over again. When you zoom out, it creates a Nova.
Yeah, like a mold where the whole mold is made up of the same kind of thing, but it has its own like three-dimensional shape when you get enough of them together. Nova are like that, except they can control their three-dimensional shape.
So a Nova's uniqueness then is based on a unique geometry.
Yes, and slightly, and I think it's like everyone has a slightly different, but like quartz crystal you pull out of the ground can look different from another quartz crystal, but fundamentally they're all like long hexagon-y looking, right? Or fundamental building blocks the same, but then like macro crystal different. Nova are like that.
Cool.
Every nova same, and every nova is identical to every other nova cell, but the sum total of all of those nova cells make different nova that all look the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And always take the same.
Yeah. Okay, so that answers that. So we've got
Nova can regrow from cutting or any part of their body off because it's all the same.
So it's all the same thing. And you take any part of a nova and you give it enough time and resources to reproduce, and it will just
regrow.
Yeah. Okay. So so we've got an instructor, an assistant instructor, and a gardener who happens to be helping out. So Morgan, what kind of... So I think we should start by going over all of the injuries that we can remember Ruda suffering this campaign, and then talking about the different ways that that you the different like exercises and stuff that you do to kind of keep up with both the injuries that you're feeling from naturally and the like augmentations that you've gotten and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
let me check my consequences.
Yeah, so right now the only consequence you have written down is stiff skin from burns.
Yeah, he got burned, he got shot in the elevator.
Shot up a bunch of times in the elevator.
I'm pretty sure I got my... Was it me or Jagara that got their arm cut off? I think it was Jagara.
But
Okay.
can we say you felt it?
Well, yeah, I mean, they have a psychic link.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, that would suck.
You definitely got... was it... So something bad happened to you in that big battle on the Fatimah Ruh. Was that when your flamethrower exploded? Is that how you got burned?
I believe it was because
riot.
Yeah, I remember a point where like you flamethrowed a door that we had just sealed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was at the place with Sports Riot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we met the Tickler.
So, and then, so you've got all of these holes in your body from all of these bullet wounds you've suffered over the months, and I think that they are patched with a kind of like synthetic pseudo skin that mostly works like regular flesh, but it stretches a little bit different, and you kind of just have to over time like, train your muscles on how they're going to move differently around this new skin. You also, a big chunk of your body has burns from the flamethrower explosion. Let's see, what else? You had, so augmentations. You have, I'm going down here to augments. Okay, yeah, so you have synthweave armor. I think like the majority of your skin has been in going in patches and layers. The majority of your skin has been removed and replaced with this Aelfinn alchemical like super skin that is kind of like almost a bark-like carapace. So your skin has this very interesting texture to it, and that's definitely something you need to like adjust to, because it bends differently. It's not that it doesn't bend, it's that I imagine your skin is a little bit like when you have a fresh like a branch off of a sapling, how you can bend it, but it's got this resistance to it. I imagine that's kind of what your skin is like. You also have a rocket propelled arm. Now is that Is that just one of your arms, or do you think it's multiple of them have that built in?
I think I have 4 arms. I think 2 of them have rocket propelled.
Both on the same side, or is it like both on the top?
Both on the top.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine with those, it's got to be like a biochemical thing. I imagine it's your body naturally produces like you have this plant that has been grown into the back of your 2 upper arms, and this plant produces 2 different kind of chemicals that, when mixed together, create an explosion. And then the shape of the like wood around it channels that explosion in one direction, so you can get that big kick of momentum on either arm at command. But it takes a while for your body to regrow those chemicals, which is why you can do it so many times. And the last thing, you have what are called Titan weave muscles. So your whole, and I think this is both upper and lower sets of arms. The muscles have been removed like one by one and replaced with these Aelfinn synthetic pseudo muscles that are much stronger and more efficient. So we're going with a plant theme for all of the Aelfinn stuff. I like to think that these are they're made of the same kind of stuff that a lot of like sea anemones are made of. That's kind of what I'm imagining them like almost like sea sponges. The material that makes up your muscles is like a variation of that. And that also it requires a lot of relearning. So between all of those things, I think most of your physical therapy is just like doing repeated actions, not so much focusing on how well your body can handle strain, but just getting your body used to doing various actions. So I think there's a lot of like just playing catch and getting you used to like hand-eye coordination, and maybe a lot of like all right, walk up these stairs, walk down these stairs, walk up these stairs, walk down these stairs.
On my hands?
Well,
I feel like it'd be more,
yeah, because your legs haven't had that much happen to them. You know what it is for like getting you used to moving in different ways? I think Xochipilhi is having you help pick fruit in the garden.
Nice.
So that's a lot of like, you have to raise your arm above your head to like grab this apple, and then you have to reach down to like grab these, like raspberries and stuff. And then you have like baskets, and you're sorting them in different ways. So that's working on your index manual dexterity. So that's what you're doing. So I think it's you kind of go back and forth between the tickler, who is doing the just like the standard physical stress test actions, the having you, it's basically just stretches that you guys are going through. Actually, I love the idea of is Pilates the thing I'm thinking of?
That does what?
Yeah, it's Pilates. Okay, so I think the tickler is leading you guys through like a Pilates class, basically. So he's having you like lie on your back and then do like a sit up and hold it, and then
instructor named Karen.
And I think Charlie's role is checking with each of the participants and making sure that they're like that they're holding the poses in like the right way, making sure your arms at the right angle and you're not locking your joints and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
this is quite a turn of events for Charlie, because typically Charlie is just getting killed working out with Ruda, and now Charlie's in the position of being the instructor, and Ruda's the one who is struggling because he's going through physical therapy. I'm wondering what's going on in Charlie's mind. Like, is Charlie having like a power trip?
She's definitely enjoying it. I'm also fascinated by because physically, Ruda is still like one of the strongest people on this ship, especially with all those augmentations we talked about, and being a gym rat and working out constantly. But all of that physical strength doesn't change the fact that there's still a little like, even after all these months, sometimes your body just doesn't feel right. It's a lot of that like phantom limb kind of stuff. So do you think that it's weird for do you think that it's very upsetting for Ruda, who's normally like such a champ at the gym, to kind of struggle with these very mundane tasks?
Yes, it's quite upsetting for Ruda.
All right.
Because Ruda's like, he's used to the gravity chamber, and he like parkours in 10x gravity, and
yeah, and with this, it's not that you're struggling to do the activities. The goal of the activity is to do it and have it feel natural, and that's like, no amount of willpower and physical fitness can make your arm feel like your arm.
Right.
It has to just be practice and routine.
Yeah.
So I wanna ask about how Ruda has changed since the beginning of the campaign. And honestly, I think that it has been less about the way that Ruda has changed in the present and more about our understanding of Ruda that has changed. Because when we started, we only knew Ruda as this like, this guy who had left the Alfheim and was raised to be a demon hunter, but had kind of left that behind and was trying to find his own path. And that is an interesting story, but I also think there's a good amount of we learned about Ruda's wrestling career, and what was I want to know, so you probably didn't have as strong of a reaction to it in the moment because, you were just trying to survive and stuff. But I want to know how the events at Fatimah Ruh, and then trying to, strengthen your connection with Jagara afterwards, how all of that affected Ruda in terms of Ruda's like identity and sense of self.
Honestly, I think he's been able to connect a lot more with back with like the obsession with demons.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that ever left him. It's kind of like riding a bike, but he had like stopped for a while. And I think that was good to like get back into it. Fatimah Ruh scared the fuck out of him because it was like something he'd never really dealt with before.
So
The notion.
Anwar's whole thing is that he left Aelfinn society a long time ago and has been, he's used to not being with his people and to kind of like redefining his definition of who his people are. Especially after watching one of the world ships be completely devoured like that. What is Ruda's sense of community like these days? What group does Ruda see himself in?
In terms of like our group here?
Just in general, how does Ruda identify? How does he see his community? Does he feel that he is part of a community?
Yeah, I feel like he thinks that he's part of the outlaw community because he is. Like, he's just a fucking space outlaw.
Yeah. Does that connection feel stronger since seeing, one of his world ships destroyed? Has that kind of strengthened his connection with the other people on the ship?
Yeah, I would say so, because he doesn't feel like he has a history, obviously, of Aelfinn culture, and he's been trying to connect more with like Jagara.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, that part of his life is behind, I think.
Okay.
And I think because of that, he feels stronger.
So this is, I think one of the big takeaways. I think the end of this scene is after physical therapy. You guys are, you don't even really need to like hit the showers or anything, because it's not like anything you've been doing is physically stressful. It's more of testing your mindfulness and stuff like that. But I think afterwards, it probably ends with you guys just like, having lunch together. I think that's kind of your regular post PT activity. And I think that Jagara lives in the garden because she is a giant plant, and this is the place that is like most comfortable for her. I think Anwar. So you're having lunch, and I think you've been talking about this stuff, about your relationship with the Aelfinn community with Anwar. And I think the thing that's very interesting is when you started working with Xochipilhi to strengthen your connection with Jagara, she really emphasized that you needed to rebuild your connection with Aelfinn culture to strengthen your connection with her. And I think what you've found since then is that it wasn't Aelfinn culture that you needed to like strengthen that connection. It was strengthening your understanding of your own culture and your own community, and how it's it's not you and Anwar and Jagara who are all ex-members of Alfheim. It's more, the three of you and so many other people on this ship, and that is your new community.
Yeah, I like that.
So the scene kind of leads up to that conversation. Do you think there's anything else that that comes up during that lunch before the camera cuts away?
I'm just wondering where Jagara is. Like, is she
Oh yeah,
doing
sorry.
stuff in the garden too?
Yeah. So Jagara lives in here, and so I think that I'm trying to think about what would be what would be an interesting routine for her to have as she, spends her days up here. And I think part of it is upon request, and she was not happy about it at first, but I think Xochipilhi helped, forge, because she's a floor and forge master that can make Aelfinn tech. I think she made some training dummy kind of things in the garden. And I think there's this lake in the middle of the garden. And I think that okay, here's what it is. There is a course around the garden, like a track course. And I think Jagara sometimes spends her days running sprints around that course. And the garden is the size of a small town, and she is this giant mech, just sprinting and stomping her way across town, kicking up huge piles of dirt and dust as she sprints around this track. And then
How nimble?
fairly nimble, I think.
Shockingly nimble for the size of the thing.
Yeah, no, I imagine her very much like the Evas in Evangelion.
Yes.
And then she will also go and stand in the island and then have these training dummies. You know what it is? They're kind of like Kraken tentacles with big targets on the end that will pop out of the lake around her, and testing her reflex and reaction time and how quickly she can, hit them as they pop up. And so I think when you came in, she was doing that. But anytime you're around, and Ruda, you come in to check on her fairly, I would think at least once a day, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
So I think anytime you're around, she is, watching you, even if what you're doing is not working with her directly. I think she's kind of checking in on you and seeing how you're doing, because you're kind of somewhere between a son and a little brother to her, I think. Yeah, so and I think when you guys settle down to have lunch after your PT, I think she is kind of this little mountain sitting in the background behind your table and joining into the conversation.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a really cozy, interesting scene about this weird life you've built here. So I think we call it scene there.
I think that's good.
All right. So I'm moving her back. I am moving these two out of the way. I am pulling this out of the way. And okay, there we go. All right, so all right, I've got a half-formed idea of how I can go about this. I've been struggling to think of how I can do Aveline's thing, but I think I have an idea. So an ant. Oops,
Hello.
not what I meant to do. So we know that Otema. We know that Otema is a like creature. She not of any particular religion. Actually, she the thing that she preaches about is actually a variation of I think we can call it like singularism, the religion of the one that is taught by the diocese, but she approaches it from a very different angle, and it's like some of the same philosophy, but none of the ritual and dogma that's associated with them. But she holds this little like church service in the Gemini, and I think she does it probably twice a week, and then works with does some other events to kind of support the community between weeks. But Aveline does not strike me as somebody that participates in these kinds of events very often. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I don't think that Aveline really participates. Like, I think that Aveline definitely, like, when Xochipilhi, like, made it part of like our training to start going to the sermons. Yeah, like continue. Aveline like she went along with it because it was part of the training, so she respected it, but I think it was more one of those things of like she keeps it at arm's length. Like, I'll respect it and I won't be disrespectful while I'm here, but it's just not really my jam.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna drag some people around, because I think this interlude happens, at least it starts in Otema's little altar room, little place that she hangs out. So I'm dropping some people in that are attending. Where is that butch lady? Here we go. So I'm dropping in some people that are attending. Liko is there. She goes every week, and to everything, mostly because she likes hanging out with Otema. And I think she is kind of like you in that she respects the ideas that Otema is putting down, but I think she doesn't have a head for that high-minded philosophy and ethics and stuff.
I totally see Liko as being the type of, like, she's nice enough that, like you said, she's totally respectful, but I do totally see it being one of those things where she's just like, it's too highbrow for me. I just like to punch people in the face.
I think she goes, but she is there for the community. She likes the communal aspect. And I've discussed, so the inspiration for how I was imagining Otema's little like church thing that she puts together was there was a period where I went to a Buddhist church, and we would do like meditation, and then we would talk about the writings and the philosophy and stuff like that. But then after every one, we would always end by them just pouring tea and everyone sitting around and talking about our thoughts around tea. And I think Otema's church is very much like that, where it's almost more of like a group therapy than like what we traditionally think of as church. And I think Liko is there because she likes being with Otema and she likes the people.
I also think it would be a good thing, because like not only does she like the people and she likes the community, but just because like Liko like lost her leg at one point, I think it totally could have been something where she was kind of introduced to it because it was like maybe part of her physical therapy. Like as she was recovering, she was just feeling like detached. And so maybe she started coming here to like get her thoughts out and, you know, process her thoughts on losing a leg.
Yeah. So I've dropped in a bunch of people. I think that what ends up getting you to come this week is I think Anwar has decided he's gonna start going to this. Now, Anwar was part of your group when you were doing the routines with Xochipilhi, and he was part of the group that had homework of going to these sermons as well, right?
Yep. It was me, Anwar, and Ruda all had that homework.
Yep. So I think that was like a month that you guys were doing that. And I think Anwar hasn't gone since then, but he, I think he, you know, he probably sends you a text and says that he is thinking about going to it again this week and wants to know if you would be willing to go with him.
Oh my god, yes, absolutely. I totally imagine that Aveline is like, she probably sends back like 40 text messages in response, like, oh my god, Anwar, it's been so long since you came to like the session. I'm so excited that you're coming. Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna drop by your room so I can pick you up and we can walk there together. And then she sends like 3 extra pages that are just nothing but emojis.
Yep, that's it. Okay, so you go and you pick up Anwar, and I think he at first was kind of saying like, "No, I'll just meet you there." But your guys' rooms are like right next to each other, and it would be kind of weird to not go together. So eventually he, you know, concedes that like, yeah, we'll just go together. You go to pick him up, and he's kind of like nervous, which is weird because there's like, this is not a new thing. It doesn't seem like there's any reason he would be nervous. He's done this he's done this 4 times before, but he knows all these people. This is nothing new. But yeah, it looks like he's put a lot of, I think when you go to pick him up, he's looking through his wardrobe and trying to like pick out an outfit and really struggling to find anything that he wants to wear. You guys are running a little bit late at this point, but do you take some time? You could either, you know, urge him to just, you know, he looks fine, just urge him to go like he is, or take some time and run late and help him like pick out a good outfit.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to run late. Like, I think that like at first she's probably sitting there like, oh no, but we'll be late. But she like really sees that like Anwar is just struggling with this more than like she would expect, and then she's just like, no, let's figure this out. We'll find something in your closet. If you don't like anything in your closet, we'll go over to my closet and find something.
And I think this is maybe not the first time that you guys have done that. I think it's partially the like your training with Siva and his training to like you know, reconnect with his like all of that stuff. I think he started getting more comfortable taking like accessories from you, especially. And so it's fairly common that he'll come by and borrow like a bracelet or a necklace or a scarf or something to like really complete an outfit. Can you roll intuition for me?
Yes, absolutely.
+15.
I have a 4 in intuition.
That's a +4, and you rolled an 11.
Ooh.
Oh my god. Okay. So I think you yeah, I think you at this point you know Anwar pretty well. You know what he likes and what he's into, and I think you know that there's kind of like the outfits that he prefers to wear, and then the outfits that like he wears because he wants to look cool. And I think that is kind of how he's leaning towards today, but I think you quickly help him move towards like a comfy casual outfit with a fair amount of it's something that's like silly and over the top, like a tank top with a scarf or something. And it's an outfit that nobody would choose. No normal person puts on this outfit, but we've established that Aveline does not have a normal sense of fashion.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. If anything, Aveline probably recommended it. Like, no, this will look so good on you. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's also I don't know. Give me something else that's like. So we've got a tank top and a scarf. Give me something else that you put on an outfit for Anwar.
So I think that like Aveline's probably doing one of those things where he's standing in front of the mirror and he's looking at it and he's feeling all right about it, but Aveline's doing one of those like Edna Mode things where she's like walking circles around him and she's like, I don't know, it still needs something, and she's like looking at him from like all kind of different angles, and like I think she pulls out and I'm trying to describe this as best as I can. Like, I feel like Aveline, because of like the intuition roll, I think she's starting to get an idea of like things that Anwar wants to wear, but like he doesn't feel exactly comfortable with like breaking that threshold yet. So I think that Aveline's going to like walk into her closet and she's gonna like throw a whole bunch of stuff out. Like Anwar's just gonna see like stuff flying past him, like some of it's landing on him. And she's gonna come out with like the equivalent of like something that you would see like women wear at the beach. Like it's like they don't want to wear a dress specifically, but they want something to like wear over their swimsuit. So I think Aveline's gonna come out with like this
like
really,
a wrap.
Yeah, like a wrap, and she's gonna come out with like this really flashy like sequined wrap, and she's going to take it and she's going to like loop it around almost as if it's like a sashayed belt, but it's still got some give, so it's got some flow to give his pants some kind of like skirted belted accessory. And then like she's going to like sit there and look at him in the mirror and be like, how do you think about that? Does that look okay? Do you like that? Because I think that's perfect.
Yeah, he definitely lights up with that, and I think he's like, this feels right. I think this is the right accessory for this one. And so you guys you guys head down, and you get there late. Like, they're definitely like in the middle of the conversation, and you have to, I think you have to kind of like squeeze in between a couple people to get some cushion space for to settle down. And so we get to the middle. So Aveline, or sorry, Otema has finished talking about the. I think she probably starts by giving like an anecdote from probably talking about one of the missions that one of the team went on, and then talking about how some idea from that connects in with the greater idea of all is one, and ties it together. And then they get to the part of the meeting where it's just people going around and talking, and specifically talking about like, how their like ideas in their lives that are relevant, and for each person who talks, it kind of like plays off of the person before them. And I think maybe Corin is the person who goes, who goes leading up to this and talks about her role with the ship evolving, and with the ship's AI, and trying to, be a good, almost like mother for it, without Mate there, and Mate being the person who, was the original idea person behind the project. And then I think that Anwar kind of very hesitantly raises his hand and starts. I think he starts talking about feeling directionless lately after, for a long time, he left Aelfinn society, and for a long time his like persona was a reaction against that. It was a reaction against all the rules and traditions that he grew up with, and being very like, rebel punk. But realizing that maybe that wasn't authentically him, and maybe that was just as much a product of, where he was raised and stuff as, who he was before. And now that he's settling down here in the ship, he's trying to find out, like, what is authentically Anwar? What am me? And I want to hear, because obviously Aveline, I think, would have some kind of input into that. I want to hear how Aveline connects to that idea of rediscovering identity.
I think that Aveline would actually be able to connect to it.
Hold on, we're getting some echo. Make sure one of you is muted, and then continue. Oh, I can't hear anything currently. Here we go. Perfect. Continue.
Okay. So I think that Aveline's actually able to connect to this really well, because I think that Aveline probably experienced like I would say that it's not exactly the same, but I think Aveline experienced a similar kind of effect, in that like when Anwar left Aelfinn society, he started embodying this idea of, I'm going to be everything against Aelfinn society because, I've left, that's not part of me anymore. And I think that Aveline probably spends some time talking about how she went through a similar experience but it was more so because like she lost her family and she lost her homeworld, so she didn't necessarily rubber band in the direction of I'm going to be anti everything my homeworld. But I think that she did start to reject it in the way of like she just started stamping it down and hiding it inside of herself because she didn't want to approach her feelings about it because she didn't know how she felt about it. And then it got further compounded because like she was simultaneously dealing with like, I don't know who I am anymore because I based everything about myself on this person that I was so fucking undeniably in love with that like I lost them, started like questioning who I was, and then I lost everybody else that was connected to me, so I had nothing else to latch onto. And I think that Aveline probably spent some time basically saying like, you know, it was really scary for me, and it still is scary sometimes because I don't think that I've completely found my direction yet, but I think she would also offer him like the support of, I might not know exactly where you're coming from, but I can kind of see how you might be feeling, and if you need any support or if you want to talk about anything, like my door is always open even outside of these sessions.
So I want to know, so you talked about, I mean, you didn't mention by name, but Nox, obviously. Nox, that's the name, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned that Nox was a big part of that identity crisis. Do you think that Aveline's, because it's only been like a couple months since she talked with Nox and like basically got closure on that whole chapter of her life, since so much of who she was a reaction against or was a response to the idea of Nox, do you think that her identity has changed at all since getting that closure?
I think it has. It's definitely like Aveline probably, and she probably like, I would say she chokes up a bit. Like she doesn't fully cry, but like she definitely stutters a lot and it takes her like a couple of tries to get through it. But I think she does spend some time opening up to the group, like basically saying it did give me closure, but it also like it still really hurt at the same time. Like it's like I got that closure, but at the same time I was still feeling a lot of heartbreak, and I didn't necessarily want to tell people about it because it would feel selfish to me, since like, you know, it's like I feel like Aveline was definitely in a position where she was just like, she didn't want to express that she was still working through some feelings for Nox because it would have made her feel like she was trying to force something that he had been, you know, upfront about finally saying like, we can't do this anymore. And I think that like she spends some time talking about how she had to work through that, and she still hurts about it sometimes, but she's starting to get the feeling that like as she's been forced to start spending some more time on her own, she's started like inadvertently finding little pieces of herself, or even like little bits of herself that she just kind of forgot about in the fog of I love Nox so much. And like I think she expresses that she's just like, I don't exactly know who I am just yet, but I'm comfortable with not knowing, and I've been exploring this new feeling of being okay with just being by myself and figuring me out.
Yeah, that's great. So I think that you talking to Nox had this big effect of helping you move past him. Do you have anything you could suggest for Anwar to help him, like, stop reacting against his childhood and instead find out who he is outside of that?
I think the advice that I would give to Anwar is probably like, because I think that Anwar is probably experiencing a similar roadblock to what Aveline was experiencing, and that is like Aveline spent so long caught up in her feelings of Nox that she didn't really get to that next road point of I need to actually acknowledge why I'm so stuck on this. And I think that she would probably like push Anwar in the direction of, it sounds like there's still something like you're holding on to from Aelfinn society that you haven't completely decided how you feel about yet. And I think you should spend some time like coming to a conclusion on that. But ultimately, I don't think that you should make a decision based on, anything that might, like, I don't want him to make a decision of he feels like he might have to do something because of Aelfinn society or standards. Like, I would just really strongly urge him to be like, at the end of the day, even if you were part of Aelfinn society, even if we're, part of the Gemini, at the end of the day, you are going to be most happy when you accept yourself. So, end all be all.
Yeah.
You need to find what makes you happy. And I want to help you find what makes you happy.
So I think this is... I love this theme, and I love that this is happening in a, like, group setting, but it's very much a personal, like, between Aveline and Anwar conversation. I think after that, the conversation kind of moves back to talking about, it moves on to the next person, and they talk about the stuff they have going on. I think, not to like talk while somebody else is talking. I think Anwar texts you and asks if you two can take some, like, I don't know, like, get lunch together and brainstorm, how to figure that out, kind of thing. And I'm gonna establish a time setting for this, because I think this is most interesting if there's kind of a break before that happens. I think this... so I think that this whole scene that just happened is like the day before you guys are supposed to meet with the Primarch Celine. And so you guys like pick a time that you're going to get together and, I don't know, just think about like, your identities and stuff. But like, you're both busy today, you both have things to do, and so there's no good time today you can do it. And you've got this big thing scheduled tomorrow, so you end up picking like a point like 2 weeks out or something.
That makes sense, because when we came back from this most recent mission, Aveline's legs were really messed up, so I think we can totally just insert the idea of Aveline's probably been spending a lot of time back and forth at like the medical wings and maybe even like the mechanical wings, just getting herself like back up to speed, like getting her legs repaired and recalibrated.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that the end of this scene is you guys like making a plan to get together and brainstorm about your identities and your futures and be a little bit more intentional with where you're leading your life. And all of that happens with you guys just doing a text conversation while sitting right next to each other.
Oh, it's so cute.
Okay, so I think that's the end of that scene. I'm gonna pull you guys aside. I'm gonna push all these characters out of the way, and I'm gonna move this thing out of the way again. Okay. So our next thing, that is everyone has had their interludes now. Our next thing is going to be the meeting between you guys and the Primarch Aveline. Is there anything we need to address before we get there?
Be able to do that with me.
I think that will be fine because it'll just be a lot of exposition.
There will probably need to be some more exposition with Pascal Bigsby and Roy trying to find that information that they found last time, but not doing it on the Galanga. And I would think we'd want to do it before we see the Primarch.
Sure. So you're okay.
Like,
well,
we got a certain level of information, but like all of the information that was there, we didn't get because it would have set off alarms alerting things in the network that we were looking
right.
into.
Yeah, okay. Well, I could use some more time to plan for the meeting with Celine anyway. I will end with so I think we'll stop here then, and we'll pick it back up with
Okay.
next time that Mike is available and we're all available. I will show you guys, I think, kind of a preview for our next game. I will show you the first of 2 locations that I've set up.
Alright.
And so this is going to be the setting for our next game when you guys meet with the Primarch Celine. This is her space yacht.
How did you make, or did you like take this from somewhere, or did you like make this?
I took a picture of a cool looking spaceship, and then I took a picture of like Italian villa, and I photoshopped them together.
I thought so because it looked distinctly you, but I wasn't sure. So
yeah,
Like
It looks
can't
so cool,
imagine
though.
yeah, man, really cool.
picture you could find, but
yeah.
this is awesome.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
wanted
it's too specific.
I wanted that
actually
effect of like a cozy home that like that particular kind of effect that only really Italian like towns have, but also mixed with a like a serious spaceship. It's kind of inspired by the idea of the way that the ships in Warhammer 40k are just giant cathedrals flying through space.
But
This
I
is
think this
that,
is
but
cool.
homey.
this looks like the private vessel of the galaxy's first quintillion.
Yeah.
I do
Okay.
have a question about it just because of like the way it looks. So with that whole city structure on top of it, and I'm kind of thinking similarly to the Gemini, because I think back on the Gemini, there's part of it that looks like there's a big dome over it.
Yeah.
Does that big city structure have like the same kind of dome structure over it, or is like Primarch like technology so advanced that like there's some kind of protective layer over that, but you can't even see it, so it just
Do you
feels
know
like they're
these-
standing on top of the ship?
You know, it'd be so cool. There's like a core of like 1,000 permanent like casters that create hard light around it. So it's not even like a thing on the ship. It's just like there are like
Wow.
rotating out like 50 at a time casters that protect it with like hard light.
That would be like the
Um,
height of arrogance. Building a starship that you actually knew was not feasible for space and simply using the labor of other spellcasters to make it feasible for space travel.
So that there are definitely Primarchs that do that. I think that you know who it is, the Primarch who's like the head of the church
Yeah,
definitely has something like that going.
but really nice.
Yeah, I think Celine's has just an atmosphere bubble that's yeah, it's
To be clear, an atmosphere bubble would have been an option for the other Primarchs. It just doesn't like fit him.
yeah.
He just doesn't want.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want the
Um,
atmosphere bubble. It's too kind.
Okay. So we will pick up next game. We will have the continue the conversation with Bixby and Pascal and Roy, and then we will go on to the conversation with you guys meeting Celine.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right.
love
I'm
it.
going to stop our recording, and we'll see each other soon.
Bye, everybody.
Sounds good. Good
Bye.
game, y'all.
Bye.
Everybody have a good week.
Be safe.
And,